You're listening to the Ballet Piano Podcast, lifting the lid on dance accompaniment.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever it is and whatever time it is that you are listening to us. My name is Chris Hobson, and around mine and Akiko's dining table is Akiko Hobson.
Hello.
Matt Gregory.
Hello, listeners.
And David Yao.
Hi, everybody.
Right, today we are talking about what people don't know about our job as a ballet pianist or as a ballet teacher. Because it's a weird job. And we said this, I think, in Cyrus's episode, which went out a few weeks ago. We said, like, what do you write on, you know, like a landing card where you said, like, how do you describe your job?
Yeah.
You know, are you a musician? Are you a dance musician? You know, a dance teacher, a ballet teacher, choreographer? How do you describe it? And then that just led us to thinking what people don't know about our jobs. And I did a quick Google search about this morning.
Yeah. Slightly adjacent to this, do you know the Gandinis?
No.
Sean and Katya, they've been jugglers for 30 years.
Wow.
It is their career. They do Sadler's Wells. They go around the world touring shows with ballet and juggling. Now, can you imagine them trying to get credit? I'm a juggler. It's that age-old thing, isn't it? Like arts jobs. What do you put down? It's a funny old thing.
So that led us to thinking, didn't it? Like, what people don't know about our job? Because I quick Google search about this basically gave nothing up about like actually properly the mechanism and the secret, not really secrets, which is like the untalked about things that happen in the ballet studio for the pianists and things like that. So we thought it might just be fun to talk about. Like, the obvious one, what people don't know, and probably people do know, is most musicians haven't been dancers. There's the odd one or two, like you are, Matt.
Yeah.
But you are sort of in that small minority.
Yeah.
But most of us go into the studio with no knowledge of what a plie is or chassé pas de bourrée or a ton de cuisse, Akiko, your favourite step. You know, we go in there and literally spend the first few years of our professional careers, if we survive that long, blagging the hell out of it, don't we?
That to me is mind-blowing.
It's amazing.
How you can walk into a studio and start playing for a class and not knowing the names of steps. Because for me, I've just taken that completely for granted. How do you even start to play for ballet when you don't know the language?
By watching,
Just
observing.
literally
Doing a bit of observation and luckily hoping that you've got a good teacher or a musical teacher who can sing something. And then if you've got a few tunes in your index, in your arsenal, you can then whip them out and then build on that. That's how I did it. That's how I built up my knowledge.
Already syllabus.
Really?
That's how I learned the steps.
Right, yeah.
Because I didn't need to
Because the names
know.
of the steps are the exercises in,
Yeah,
in
that's
that
the title.
exam, aren't they?
And
Yeah.
also, but when I was started to play for already classes, I had no idea what steps are. I was just playing what it's written.
Yeah, yeah.
And then gradually you started to know because it's the same thing every week.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then within, you don't need even a year, you started to understand.
I mean, like when a teacher's setting, I sometimes wave my arms around in a 2 or a 3 or a 4 behind the piano as if I'm a conductor, which I'm not. But I find that I get the tempo and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you?
I find that that's better, yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, what else people don't know about the job? I mean,
I have one.
Oh, well, people might not know about me is that I was a dancer.
yes.
Not in classical ballet. I did musicals for about 13 years. So, I mean, I used to do ballet just for my jazz training. And
You should just turn up and dance one day.
I'd love to, but no. No, but and I'm just saying before we hit the record button, I always mark the exercises with my body. Some, like if they set a pirouette from or the Grand Allegro or something, I just sort of map it, sat at the piano.
Does that help? Does that really help?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know whether it informs what I play. I just think because I can.
Is that like your comfort blanket thing as well,
don't
maybe?
know.
It's just all
I don't know. I just do it.
habit.
It's like learning lines. I don't know. I just put the steps in my body. I don't even know if it makes me any better or worse, or it informs what I play. I don't know.
Can I come to one of your classes and put you in a straitjacket so you can't, and then take you out just before
experiment.
somebody says "and," just to see what happens?
But I guess sometimes if I haven't got the rhythm or something, I'll probably go, "Oh, what's that?" I don't know. I don't know. Just something I do. It's completely
funny.
balmy.
But it's how you get things into your body, isn't it? Like when I was a company pianist for a while, I'd have conductors come to the rehearsals, and some of them would sit next to you with their full score open and things like that.
Yeah.
And they'd be sort of moving their arms, but they weren't conducting me as a pianist. They were getting the tempo into their body. So I guess that's almost like a muscle memory style. Going to that go-to place.
Yeah.
For Waltz of the Flowers or whatever it happened to be, that was whatever production we were on at the time. So maybe the muscle memory thing helps the conductor. I don't know.
Chris, were you once joined the ballet class and did the pirouette on the stage? Remember? Did you feel any better?
Wimbledon Theatre, 2018. It was.
I was playing, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And then when I put my head up, he is
I joined
doing
in.
some sort of move.
It was really hard.
It was embarrassing.
Were you hauled into an office?
I very nearly got into a heck of a lot of trouble that day. I saw where the line was that I shouldn't have crossed, and I took all my clothes off, rubbed my bottom on that line, and then carried on running naked over that line towards the direction I should not have been. I'd have sacked me that day.
Wow.
But I do always say humour is the best medicine, and everybody had a fantastic time in that last ballet class they ever had.
Did you feel the music or like any ballet move that
I couldn't
might
remember the
benefit
choreography.
you?
I was trying to copy the person in front of me. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
I always say, I get numb bum.
Oh my God.
Because I sit for a long time.
Yeah, 100%.
And then sometimes the ballet, piano stools are not soft enough to.
Do you prefer to sit on a piano stool or a proper chair?
A piano stool.
Depends which one. It's a nice cushion one.
Yeah.
Piano stool is very
You learnt
nice.
this about me recently. I sit lower than most.
Why?
You when we're doing those recordings.
Oh, yes.
Because I used to sit much higher years ago, but then you said a technical thing about your hand being
sorry.
parallel to the floor. And I thought I always sit higher. So and actually if I sit lower it means I can whereas if you sit high you stump over the keys a bit.
Another thing is like a lot of people ask when you play for long hours, like dancers sometimes come to me and say that, your finger tired.
Yeah.
The fingers
It's this
are
muscle
not
here, isn't
the
it?
back
It's
back
the back
muscle
and shoulders.
and my eyes,
Yeah.
and my brain. But not the fingers.
No.
Like I can play endlessly, but my brain gets so tired and no longer concentrate. I think it's more a brain power
Yeah.
than.
I think this job is a mentally tiring job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you're a class pianist or a company pianist or you're working in a school, it's tiring because you're on it. I mean, I know we don't play, if a class is 2 hours, we don't play solidly for 120 minutes. We don't play for 2 hours, but you're switched on for that length of time most of the time.
We're looked upon to bring the inspiration,
Totally,
generally. And so you've got to feel like you're being creative all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing that people who don't know a lot about this profession, or maybe some people who've been in it for a long time or as hobbies, is a ballet pianist doesn't know what they're going to play, really, until the teacher starts setting that exercise.
So true.
I mean, we referenced many years ago when we first started doing this podcast, we said, you can have, you could possibly plan your pliés because usually they're on a 3/4 and they're going to be 64 bars each side. So you can plan that. But after that, you don't know what you're going to get between then. And there's that real sticky spot I always find in class, which is from that first tendu until you finish glisses and jetés. I find that when I get to rondejambe, that's
you're out of the woods.
I'm out of the
Yeah.
woods. That's my safe spot. For,
Yeah.
that
It's
bit
funny,
in the
isn't
middle,
it?
Rondejambe,
it
yeah.
can be anything, and you've got no clue. And I'm convinced, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, quoting Matt there, it is the only job as a musician where you can walk in and literally sometimes you don't know what you're going to be asked to play. Sometimes you might get 10-second warning because the teacher will just, if you're covering a class, say on a Friday or a Thursday, it's already set, dancers know it, everybody knows it. The teacher will just go, tendus, and the one, and the two, and that's it. And then you start. So you've got 5 seconds to say a few 4-letter swear words in your head and pull out something that is going to be inspirational, it's going to be good, and it's going to tick all the boxes that we want to fulfill as a ballet pianist. And what is there any other job as a musician where you do that? I can't think of any. The only one I could compare it to slightly is jazz, because if you're doing an improvisation, and when it's your turn to do an improvisation, you don't know what you're going to play, or you might reference some ideas that say like the double bass or the guitar or the saxophone has done earlier. But even jazz is sort of pre-planned in that respect. So, certainly trad jazz is pre-planned.
When you do the Cayley band, do you know what you're going to play going into those?
Yeah,
Cayleys?
we knew.
You know those.
Yeah, the set was pretty much set up. I mean, there might be extra repeats in there and things like that.
Because you shout the steps out.
So when I used to do the Cayley band, I'd shout the steps out at the same time as playing. So I used to teach the Cayley dances.
That's insane.
And I only knew it because I could play and speak at the same time, as we've as you've seen on social media.
Yeah.
But I just learned to sort of speak in time with playing and setting. So I mean, it was very basic Scottish dancing for people at weddings and parties and bar mitzvahs and funerals who were drunk. So we were just the entertainment.
Yeah.
So I mean, the only thing that changed in that, all the songs were pretty much in a set playlist, if you like, and we just if there was 900 people there as opposed to 100, we'd just shout across the small stage. There was only 3 of us, sometimes 4. We'd shout back to the top, we'll go again. So it was but it was it was an informal Cayley band, so we could just shout across the band at each other as well. And we were so small that we could hear.
So David,
I love it when you do that.
I know.
What I wanted to know was when did, because it's so stressful to not know what's coming up, when did it stop feeling overwhelming?
I just know from experience, I don't get stressed now going into a ballet class.
Yeah. But did you, when you started, did you feel
stressed? Yeah. I just know I've either got a tune or an improv. I just know I've got something that's going to work.
Yeah. And does that just come with experience?
I guess so.
And you get less nervous,
I guess you get more nervous if you try and preempt what the teacher's going to want.
Yeah.
You're just going to get more nervous thinking, oh my God, I need a tendu, I need a this, I need a that, I need to have that. Well, I do get like that playing for Anita. I need a playlist.
Her chili con carne.
Oh, we'll have to do an update. But yeah, going into free class, there's no point in stressing about it because you never know what you're going to be asked for.
Right.
Just sort of rely, have confidence in your conviction or whatever.
Have confidence in your abilities. Have a set of tunes ready, even if it's 5 or 6, 4 4s, 3 4s, 2 4s, 6 8. Get a load of waltzes, a 5 4.
I don't have many 9 8s or 5 4s. They're always my improvs for those, and that really depends on what the teacher sets. So I don't even stress about finding a tune for those, because they don't happen as often as anything else.
I think I was too naive when I started because I was young. Like we said, I was 17 when I started, so I thought I was the best. So I presented myself as, I can do this. This is easy. So I just had this ridiculous confidence. And I knew nothing about ballet, but I went in there and pretended I did.
Wow.
And I think because I could improvise and I'd done a contemporary for a year, I sort of understood. I didn't understand how to play for ballet, so I didn't really understand how to play for dance. I'd only been doing it for a year, but I had some experience. And I thought, I think because I enjoyed it, I was like, what? I can just do this. I can get, and if I don't have a tune, stop laughing at me.
Who's this cocky mank in the corner?
I know. It doesn't sound like me at all, does it?
When I started, I don't know if you heard the same. Like to play one free class, open class or whatever, free class, not the syllabus class, I almost felt like I just did a free recital. And so when I finished the whole class, I was so exhausted and I was very hungry. I was eating a lot that time and I was sleepy. I wanted to have a nap. But I just felt like that sort of tiredness.
That's something that the listeners might not know. The stamina required to play a full ballet class.
You do get used to though, mentally.
You build up your stamina, but it's physical. It's quite physical.
Yeah.
But also quite mental, as you're saying. You have
mental,
the amount of thinking you have to do before you start playing and everything.
Yeah,
and
first time I experienced that, when you're mentally tired, you're hungry and you're sleepy.
Yes.
And actually, when you go through a ballet class, how many different tempos, rhythms and feels do you play? And then when you're in that exercise, you can't change.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to you've got to sit in your tempo, haven't you?
Yes.
Until the next exercise when it can be completely different. And then you sit in that tempo.
I mean, I think we probably take this for granted, but if you're a musician who hasn't played for ballet before, you don't really do rubato because you'll be told off for speeding up or slowing down. That is not something that you add into that. You might, pull it out slightly from the first side to the
because
second
the
side.
dance breathes.
Yeah.
But there's not sort of the musical rubato that there would be in a recital or a solo piano piece.
But is there more opportunity in the company class to do a little bit of that more or not?
Yeah, they pull it about a lot because they know they can.
Yeah.
And just to achieve, I know we have this gripe about solos being drawn out too much, but in class I think it's slightly different because they need to practice 10 pirouettes.
Right.
So 5 is nailed on stage.
Right. Yeah.
So in class, company classes, the music is pulled about a lot, so they can achieve a bit more of an extension. So on stage, when it's done in situ, it's nailed every time.
Right.
So yeah.
But I don't know about you two, but I always take what the teacher takes. Sorry, what the teacher sets. That is my. And if the tempo's slightly off, I might just do a micro adjustment for that and then usually slow it down slightly for the men because that's sort of bog standard. But I've always got my eyes, and we've said this so much in every episode, I've got my eyes, or certainly at least one of them, always on the teacher, wherever they are in the room, just in case. Because they might decide that they've set something too slow or too quick, or they just, after each group's done it twice, they're still coming from the corner. Actually, they've got kick it up a little bit. So you're looking all over the shop all the time. I think that also comes in with the tiredness as well, doesn't it, Kiki? Because you're all over the shop. You're not just sitting there watching your fingers or reading the sheet music.
Yeah.
If you are a person who plays some sheet music, you're looking at the sheet music, you're looking at the dancers, you're trying to scanning the room constantly to see where the teacher's gone.
Yeah.
Who are they talking to? Are
It's
they
a
looking
lot-
at you and waving?
Yeah, it's a lot more tiring than like practicing by yourself 8 hours in your practice room.
And something else that people might not know about our job is we're more eyes up than eyes down.
Yeah.
Certainly in free class. Your repertoire
Yeah.
has to be at your fingertips.
But even in rehearsals for company pianists, you are at most 50% on the score because you're watching what you're playing. Maybe when it's the core numbers and things like that, the big waltzes and the big numbers, you're on the score because you don't really need to watch. But as soon as you're into a pas de deux or a coda or a solo, you are 75% watching what's going on in front of you because each cast and each couple are going to be different. And again, we've said it so many times, it's going to be different on a Monday to a Tuesday to a Wednesday to a Saturday to a Sunday. It's going to be different every day. So you can't just go to that list of go-to tempos. This couple like it at 100, this one's at 103 because it's that worked yesterday, but it might not necessarily work tomorrow. So you're not watching what you're doing, you're watching what you accompany all the time, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I came across with a conversation that somebody was telling me that one of the pianists is pretty much focusing on what this pianist is playing, notes, and not aware of what's going on in the studio. And normally teacher hates it.
It's really dangerous.
And I personally, I don't know if you agree, I personally, if I can watch a little bit more, and then I will take my wrong notes. Like I'm happy to play wrong notes here and there,
Take the odd
and the
wrong
less
sling.
note. But have more awareness because it's not about how well I can play. So
and as a musician, as a company pianist, certainly, or if you're playing for a full call of something or a rehearsal, you can't just get that score off IMSLP or buy it from Boozy and Hawks or wherever and play it as it is, because you need to know out of that reduction what the dancers need to hear. So it's always good, like if you're in a company or wherever, or you can speak to a pianist who's done it before, or go on YouTube and watch a rehearsal. Like certainly with some of the Ashton stuff and things like that, if you can watch a rehearsal, you can hear what they're asking for, what the rehearsal director's asking for and what the counts are and things like that. You got to carry out. And, it's not always the counter melody that, some people, it's beautiful, but it's not required in the rehearsal.
I said this to Jonathan off the back of me doing this Raymonda thing. I said, what percentage of the notes at company level do you play off the page?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And he said, sometimes you take notes out, sometimes you actually add bits.
Add in,
And I suppose you endeavour to play as many of the notes as possible. But sometimes if it's a reduction, you've got the orchestral cues.
Yeah.
And it really depends on what the dancers need to hear.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know?
So you've got to know what the dancers
And then,
need to
because
hear.
Jonathan said, oh, he was practicing this passage for Swan Lake. He's like, I just can't play it. And he said to Julia, I just can't play that passage. And Julia said, no one can. And that's Julia Richter. So you don't stress about that passage.
Yeah.
You know, have a little workaround for that bit.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, that's coming from the greats.
Yeah. Like when I was at Northern, David was choreographing his Nutcracker.
David Nixon.
Yeah, the grand pas. So you know the middle bit of the grand pas de deux, da da dum, ba ba bum, yeah, da da dum. And I'd got the easy reduction.
Beautiful singing.
Thank you very much, darling. Manchester Cathedral trained. Without the harp and things like that in the reduction. So I was just playing the melody and the triplets underneath. And then we were in the rehearsal and I didn't know that in a separate rehearsal, he'd choreographed sort of pirouette into attitude or something like that with the dancer. And then, and the dancer sort of looked at me and said, I can't hear it. But actually, David was fine. He said, oh, Chris didn't know that we'd added in, added this extra stuff. He said, oh, can we hear that? The harp that Nigel told us about. Like, that's what you want.
Right.
So knowing what, and that's not in the Kalmus piano reduction.
Right. Yeah.
That's in the sort of, the full-on Tchaikovsky reduction, which is almost unplayable.
Yeah.
Nobody uses it.
Yeah.
Jonathan said he really, in the early 90s, he sweated over Romeo and Juliet fight scene to get it nailed.
Yeah.
And he worked so hard. And then at the end, Schauffer said, oh, we need to hear more notes.
Oh my gosh!
And Jonathan thought he'd done a stellar job.
Oh.
Funny.
Before we finish, can I ask you, what do you guys write on the landing card? Your occupation?
Musician.
Musician. You said you're pianist, aren't you?
I just say pianist now.
We've not covered David.
David.
I want to ask David.
Go on.
This is my turn. You cut me off, or someone did. What don't people know about you as a ballet teacher? Because we all have our idiosyncrasies, don't we? What don't people know about you?
Just like you, it's the preparation before and after, and the things that come post class that happen afterwards that nobody knows. So before, I've said this before, I completely stress. If I don't have a tendu exercise, I go berserk.
Yeah.
So I will spend most of the time just thinking about what I'm going to do for that.
When I played for you earlier this year, we met for a coffee before class. And the first thing I said to you, just for a laugh, was, you got a tendu today?
Because I will stress. I'll get really nervous about it. And I'll mumble my words and everything just flows from it. It's really weird.
It's so funny, like staff room in the ballet world, Like, the teachers, they are always on the side,
Doing something. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Something.
At the kitchen
That's the bit you
sink,
don't see.
choreographing
When
exercises.
pianists were just drinking coffee and eating cookies, and there's always one or two just marking something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I just thought? For a ballet teacher, you might have your exercises planned, but in the same way, we don't know what we're going to get asked to do. You don't know what you're actually going to be dancing to, what someone's going to provide for your exercise until you've said "and." So that could actually, I've never got
That
that.
is so weird. You never know what we're going to play until we say "and."
But what's lovely is because we're friends and we've worked together for a long time, I kind of know.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of inspires us.
Say we've got no repertoire.
We need to be
we're all
more
predictable.
creative.
We know that we've got to be inspired by what you play, and then sometimes when you pull out these lovely gems out of the hat, we're like, we are shocked, genuinely shocked. We're like, oh, isn't that fantastic? Because that's not what I thought you were going to play.
Yeah.
Well, that's even better than what I thought you were going to play.
Yeah.
That's what really inspires me.
Yeah. Raymond says of John Sweeney, he doesn't give me what I want. He gives me what I need.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
Can we get that on a t-shirt?
Yes, please.
Right, listeners, please get in contact with us on social media at Ballet Piano Podcast or email us at balletpianopodcast@gmail.com and let us know what people don't know about your job. What is it that you do that you think other people don't know about? Because I'm sure everybody does everything slightly differently. We've all got different preparations. We've all got different slight fears and anxieties. So share it. I've basically decided that this podcast is now therapy and we all just share everything. Because it's cheaper to buy all the equipment than it is to go to therapy, apparently. So before I say goodbye, please don't forget to give us a little 5-star review, if you don't mind, on your podcast app, because that would really help us. Stick the 5 stars. If you've got 30 seconds, just write in the, in your summary or comment, this podcast is great. Thank you, Chris. That'd be lovely. And on that note, we'll see you next time. But for now, it's goodbye from me.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.